Welcome to Wiser with Time, where age isn't a shadow, it's a softer light that reveals who you really are. Have you ever woken up in the stillness of the morning and felt like you've slowly disappeared, not from the world itself, but from its attention, its conversations, its embrace? Maybe no one calls as often. Maybe no one truly needs you in the same way they once did. Maybe you walk through a grocery store or sit at a family dinner and feel like your presence doesn't quite shift the air anymore. That feeling, it's quiet, subtle, but it lingers. And over time, it begins to ask questions inside you that you didn't expect to hear. Am I still seen? Do I still matter? Is my voice still needed? The truth is, many people after 50 ask those same questions. They just rarely say them out loud. Somewhere between raising children and closing out careers, we gave everything to the world around us. We built homes, kept families together, stayed late at work, bit our tongues in hard moments, showed up even when exhausted. We were the steady rhythm of life for so many people. And then one day, that rhythm continues, but without needing us to keep the beat. Your children grow up, your job may come to an end, friendships change. Sometimes someone you loved deeply is no longer there when you turn to speak. And that silence, that absence, starts to echo inside your own sense of self. You wonder if people still see you. You wonder if you've become invisible. Let me tell you something gently and honestly. That feeling is real. But it is not the truth of who you are. No one taught us how to enter our 50s, our 60s, our 70s, not with pride, not with clarity, not with purpose. No one told us how to exist when we're no longer needed in the same way, but still deeply worthy of being seen. In a world that celebrates youth, speed, and spotlight, what happens to those of us who offer depth, patience, and experience? We get quieter, we pull back, not because we don't care, but because the world forgot how to ask for what we carry. And we slowly stop showing it. We start to believe that if no one is looking for us, maybe we don't need to be visible anymore. But the truth is, you were never invisible. You've just been waiting to be seen the right way, not for how fast you move, not for how much you produce, but for the steady wisdom in your voice, the layers in your laughter, the stories in your silence, the grace in your stillness. You see, you don't become less real when the world stops chasing you. You become more essential if you allow yourself to be. And the first step to being seen again is to believe fully that you never truly disappeared. You're still here, still beautiful, still powerful in ways the younger version of you could never imagine. So let's begin this journey not to find what you've lost, but to uncover what's always been inside you. Waiting quietly, patiently, fully formed. Let's talk about why so many people over 50 feel like they've faded into the background and how we gently, courageously step back into the center of our own lives. Because your presence matters, your voice matters, you matter, not someday, not when someone else notices you, but now, exactly as you are, still growing, still learning, still wiser with time. So where do you begin when the world grows quiet? When your phone no longer rings the way it used to? When your presence doesn't seem to shift the room the way it once did? Where do you go to find yourself again? The answer isn't in their attention. It's not in someone else's approval or validation or invitation. It starts somewhere quieter, more personal. It begins with your own gaze, the one you give yourself when no one's watching. It's because you've been looking outward for too long, waiting for someone to notice, to name your worth, to remind you of who you were. But this next chapter isn't about who you were, it's about who you are now and who you're becoming. You see, there's something powerful that happens when you stop chasing the past and start noticing the present. The way your mind has softened into wisdom. The way your heart carries both strength and tenderness now in equal measure. The way your silence speaks louder than your old need to explain. These are not losses, they're evolutions. And they deserve to be seen not just by others but by you. You have earned the right to be whole again, not for your achievements, not for your usefulness, but for your presence, exactly as it is. Maybe that means letting go of the version of you that used to get everything done in one day. Maybe it means releasing the need to prove anything to anyone. Maybe it means finally making room for yourself, not out of guilt, not out of desperation, but out of love. Because the most powerful shift you can make at this stage in your life is to start treating yourself not as a fading version of who you used to be, but as a full version of someone who's still unfolding. You've lived enough to know how to survive. Now it's time to learn how to truly live again. And you don't need a spotlight to do that. You don't need applause. You don't need a crowd to validate your worth. You need honesty. You need quiet mornings with coffee and your thoughts. You need long walks where you remember how to listen to your own voice. You need space unapologetically where you don't explain yourself to anyone anymore. Because this life, it's still yours even if it looks different, even if it feels slower. Even if no one seems to notice the work you're doing on the inside, that work is sacred, the soft rebuilding, the reclaiming, the remembering. And with every small moment of self-recognition, with every deep breath taken in peace, with every boundary protected and every truth spoken kindly, you become visible again. Not because the world decided to see you, but because you decided to see yourself. Clearly, completely, compassionately, you begin to shine from within, and slowly, almost imperceptibly, others begin to notice something different. They feel your groundedness, they sense your steadiness, they see your softness as strength, and they're drawn to it not because you shouted, not because you begged, but because you remembered who you are. And that memory, that quiet, powerful knowing, it changes everything. When you begin to see yourself again, something shifts quietly, gently, but unmistakably. The world doesn't look quite the same. It feels a little less threatening, a little less like something you have to keep up with, and more like something you can choose how to meet. Because now you're not chasing validation, you're not holding your breath, waiting to be invited back into a space that forgot you. Now you're building something different. You're moving through life with presence, with depth, with intention, and people notice. Maybe they don't say it out loud, maybe they can't even explain what changed, but they feel it. They feel the calm in your voice. They feel the weight of your gaze when you listen, not to reply but to understand. They feel your steadiness in a world that moves too fast, and they start to lean in, not because you asked, but because they miss something in themselves that you now carry quietly in you. That is the power of becoming visible again. Not loudly, not in defiance, but in truth. You begin to take up space not with force but with presence. You walk into a room and no longer shrink. You speak not to impress but to express. You wear what you love, you laugh a little longer, you cry without shame, you begin to live fully, not as a reaction to loss, but as a celebration of return. You return to yourself, to your body, to your voice, to the relationships that nourish you and away from the ones that drain you. You no longer try to fix the people who refuse to see you. You stop begging to be understood by those who only knew a past version of you. And instead, you surround yourself with those who meet you as you are today. People who don't just tolerate your growth, but honor it. Who see the years behind your eyes and call it beauty, not burden. And the more you surround yourself with that kind of energy, the more visible you feel, not because you became someone new, but because you finally stopped hiding who you already were. You let yourself be seen by you first, then slowly by the right people, the kind who stay when the spotlight moves on, the kind who see silence as conversation, the kind who admire you not for your productivity, but for your presence. This is what it means to become radiant again, to be fully here, to walk into the day not wondering who sees you, but knowing deeply that you see yourself, that you have nothing left to prove, that the life you are building now is no longer for applause, approval, or achievement. It's for joy, it's for peace, it's for truth, and it's yours every breath of it, every morning you rise without urgency, every night you sit with stillness and call it enough. This is where the real visibility begins, not with recognition, but with alignment. You finally feel aligned with who you are, with what matters, with where your energy goes and where it doesn't belong anymore. And the world, it adjusts to that clarity. It doesn't need you to explain anymore. It can feel your truth before you say a word. That's how presence works. It's not about being the loudest voice in the room. It's about being the most grounded, the most self-aware, the most free. And here's the beautiful part: the more visible you become to yourself, the more you begin to live with softness again. Not because life is easier, but because you're no longer fighting to be seen. You already are from the inside out, and now you walk through the world whole, calm, visible, and beautifully wiser with time. There's something powerful about returning to yourself. Not as a reaction, not as a performance, but as an act of truth. You stop waiting for the world to name you. You stop apologizing for your pace. You stop measuring your days by how loud they are and start honoring them for how real they feel. You wake up one morning and the air feels different. The silence is no longer empty. It's full of breath, of peace, of permission. You look in the mirror not to judge but to greet. You see the lines on your face not as signs of loss, but as symbols of life. You take the long route home. You hold eye contact longer. You no longer shrink in spaces where you used to second-guess your presence. Because now you know you belong, you always have. You were just waiting to come back to yourself. And now that you have, something within you softens. You begin to live in harmony with the season you're in. You embrace the slowness. You celebrate the simplicity. You stop chasing the next version of you. Because this one is worthy, right now as you are with all you've seen. All you've survived, all you've chosen to keep alive within you. And as you move through your day, from the small routines to the quiet moments that no one else will ever notice, something inside whispers, I see you. Well, it's not the version of you from 10 years ago, not the one they want you to be. The real you, the one you've grown into, the one who knows what matters, the one who doesn't flinch at silence, the one who doesn't need to be loud to be strong. You carry that truth in your posture, in your voice, in the way you say no without guilt, and yes without fear. You are no longer invisible, not because the world suddenly changed, but because you did. You no longer need to be seen in every room. You only need to be seen by yourself. And when you do, you light up quietly, naturally, without effort. And in that light, the right people begin to find you. The right spaces begin to open to you. And the rest, it fades, not because it didn't matter, but because it doesn't define you anymore. You are defined by something deeper now, by your presence, by your peace, by your quiet joy. By the simple fact that you are still here. And that alone, that is more than enough. You haven't faded, you've returned, and this time, you're not waiting to be chosen, you're choosing yourself, fully, kindly, without apology. Because after everything you've walked through, you've earned that and more, so wherever you go next, go with presence, go with grace, go with the deep, steady knowing that you are no longer invisible. You are seen, you are known, you are whole. And you are beautifully, unmistakably wiser with time.